Hello you fine ladies and gentlemen, I hope your day is going well. Today we're playing Battlefront, trying to figure out what is the worst blaster in the game. Now this analysis is of course somewhat subjective, seeing as the worst blaster to me is most likely not the worst blaster to you, as it could depend on your playstyle or amount of practice with said blaster. But statistically there are certainly some blasters in this game which are not as capable as others. So again, the blasters on this list are not necessarily poor choices to use, and players can certainly do very well with them, but statistically speaking, these are the weakest in the game. We'll look at the X8 Night Sniper first. Overall, this blaster is not actually that bad. The damage is quite decent, as well as the accuracy, and for that matter, the range as well. Unfortunately, the fire rate is pretty slow, which is really the bane of this blaster. The slow fire rate leads to a lot of disadvantages, a lot of which are kind of important. For instance, it's really difficult to take on more than one enemy at a time with this blaster because of the slow fire rate only enabling you to fight one enemy before any others are able to take you out. In addition, the cooling flush can also be a hindrance in that regard, as you can hardly handle two enemies before having to hit the cooling flush. So really, this blaster is not meant for head-on engagements, rather taking on enemies that are not already firing at you, so that the slow rate of fire does not disable your chances at coming off on top. If an enemy is already firing at you, you need to be extremely accurate, because missing shots will mean your opponent has more time to deal damage to you. Now, the X8 Night Sniper does have a very unique ability, and that is thermal vision when aiming down sights. So pairing this blaster with the smoke grenade and altering your playstyle slightly will allow you to see enemies through the smoke while aiming down sights while being concealed yourself. Since you'll be aiming down sights a lot with that playstyle, using the sharpshooter trait will make the Night Sniper a far better blaster, but still not one of the best. Next up is the Rebbe V10, which was added in the Outer Rim DLC. Thankfully, this blaster received some buffs not too long ago, because before it was pretty weak compared to some of the other blasters in the game. Now, the Rebbe isn't even that bad. It actually has a lot of perks and advantages, but statistically, the Rebbe does fall short of some other blasters. Because this blaster is semi-automatic, so each blaster bolt is fired individually, the recoil can be hard to handle if fired too quickly. Usually, firing a blaster too quickly will cause it to overheat too quickly, but thankfully the cooling power of this blaster is actually really good, so you don't usually have to worry about it overheating. However, firing it too quickly will result in a loss of accuracy due to the recoil of the Rebbe. Thankfully, it's pretty easy to handle, and the blaster is actually quite accurate. Another advantage of this blaster is the range. It's actually a medium to long range blaster, and because it can be fired quite quickly, it's actually decent at closer ranges as well, but does fall short compared to other blasters like the DH-17, DL-44, or other blasters that excel in closer ranges. Overall, this blaster is really pretty good, but its stats do lack somewhat in certain regards. Then we have the RT-97C, which is a heavy blaster like the DLT-19. However, unlike the DLT-19, the range, accuracy, cooling power, and recoil are all kind of lacking. On the upside, this blaster excels in close range where accuracy, recoil, and range don't matter as much. And seeing as it actually deals a lot of damage at close range, the cooling power isn't as big of an issue as well. Unfortunately, once the range is increased slightly, this blaster does not fare too well. Using focus fire or explosive shot, as well as the berserker or sharpshooter trait, can certainly make this blaster more advantageous, but there are still better choices even then. Last and possibly least is the DLT-19X. Now, if you use this blaster enough, I'm sure it's not that bad, but from a statistical view, it's terrible. Though the range and damage are maxed out on the stats, they're not really. The damage is still not enough for a one-shot body shot at close range, and the really bad rate of fire means it takes a while to get that second shot off. The fact that you have to hit the cooling flush after every single shot also makes this blaster really difficult and ineffective if you're not hitting headshots. The range is also debatable, seeing as the bolt fired from the DLT-19X takes a while to get to the target, meaning you really have to lead your shots, leaving room for more mistakes in your aim. Now, using the focus fire charge card or the cooling flush charge card can make this blaster more effective, but that's a lot of charge cards to go through just to use this blaster. Also, using the sharpshooter trait might allow for a one-shot body shot once in a while, but you still have to rank up the trait first, and that's not too easy with this blaster. So statistically speaking, the DLT-19X is the weakest blaster in the game. However, if you use this blaster a lot and use the right charge cards and traits alongside it, it can be pretty powerful. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, I'm glad. If you wish to subscribe, feel more than welcome to. And as always, I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.